Back in 2017, our neighbor on Webster Street in New Orleans packed up his young family, daughter and newborn baby, his wife, the whole life they built in New Orleans, and moved across the lake to Mandeville. We thought we understood why. More space, quieter streets, the suburbs. We were wrong about all of that. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what Mandeville costs, what it actually delivers, and whether it's the right move for you and your family. And there's one thing about the school system here that almost nobody talks about when they're house hunting. We'll get to that. So here's what our neighbor on Webster Street told us about a year after that 2017 move. He and his wife had started researching school districts before their daughter could sit on her own. Not neighborhoods, not square footage, school districts. The house they bought in Mandeville was the vehicle. The school zone was the destination. The reframe changes everything about how you look at this market, and the data backs him up completely. According to background checks, in St. Tammany Parish ranks third in the entire state of Louisiana for school district quality. It rates number 3. That ranking pulls from math and reading scores, dropout rates, and graduation rates, the numbers that actually predict outcomes for kids. Mandeville's schools sit at the top of that already strong district, with Mandeville High and Tefunctum Middle consistently earning A and B grades under Louisiana's school performance score system, which runs on a 0 to 150 scale. Now you might be thinking, Louisiana schools, how good can they really be? That's a fair question, and the honest answer surprises most people. Louisiana is currently the most rapidly improving state in the country for educational outcomes. The state moved from 49th nationally all the way to 32nd since 2019, and U.S. News and World Report now ranks Louisiana 37th overall for pre-K through 12th grade education. That's a genuine climb, not a rounding error. Mandeville isn't just a good school system inside a struggling state. It's sitting at the very top of a state that's genuinely on the rise. Here's the thing about what makes families want to make this move. It's not panic and it's not flight. We hear that framing a lot. People fleeing New Orleans. That's not what we see when we work with these families. What we see is a proactive, calculated decision about what the next 10 years look like for their kids. They're not running from something. They're buying into something specific. A zip code, a school feeder pattern, a community built around exactly the life they're trying to build. The lifestyle pull is real beyond the schools too. The TAMMANY Trace runs 31 miles of paved trail right through the heart of Mandeville. The lakefront along where we are right now, along Lake Pontchartrain, gives you sailboats and waterfront restaurants and sunsets that generally stop you mid-sentence. Old Mandeville has a walkable core, coffee shops, boutiques, local restaurants along Girard Street and Carroll Street. That feels nothing like any suburb you've ever driven through. And you're still only 30 to 40 minutes from the French Quarter when you want it. That's the complete package families are paying for. Not just a house with more bedrooms, not just a yard, a whole operating system for raising children. And the school district is the engine underneath all of it. When families pay $150,000 more for a home in Mandeville than they would for a comparable house elsewhere in the metro, they're not overspending. They're buying into a specific outcome. The house is just the entry point. Now, not every family making that move is doing it for the same reason, and understanding which type you are changes which parts of the video matter most to you. The first group we call the public school purists. These are families who've done the math on private school tuition in New Orleans, $15,000 to $25,000 per child per year, and decided that paying more for a Mandeville mortgage and banking on strong public schools is a smarter financial play. 2 kids in private school for 10 years is a number that gets people's attention fast. These families are making a strategic financial move as much as an educational one. The second group are the lifestyle and safety seekers. For them, the schools are real but secondary. What they're actually buying is space, quiet, and a community where kids ride bikes to the lakefront and a Saturday without a second thought. You'll find this group in Old Mandeville's historic blocks or in communities like Beauchamp. They want the texture of a real neighborhood, and Mandeville delivers that in a way most suburbs simply don't. The third group are the strategic commuters. These are the professionals, doctors at Ochsner, lawyers downtown, financial people in the CBD, who want a hard line between work and home. The Causeway isn't an inconvenience convenience for them. It's the point. They cross it at 5:30 and the city stays on the other side. The extra square footage and the quieter streets are the trade they're making for 45 minutes in the car each way. Most families we work with are some combination of all three, but knowing which one leads your decision tells you exactly where to focus your homework, and we'll get into all of that. So now you know why families are drawn here. But before we get into what the schools actually deliver at the classroom level, we need to talk about what living here costs in full, because this is the part where most people either lean in or pump the brakes entirely. The real cost of living in Mandeville. Let's talk numbers, because this is where the real conversation starts. Starter homes in Mandeville come in from the mid 300,000s. That gets you into the market, into the school zone, and onto the Northshore. The mid-range, where most families with 2 kids and a real wish list land, runs $450,000 to $650,000. Luxury properties, particularly anything on or near the lakefront where we are here in Old Mandeville, start at $800,000 and move up from there. Those waterfront addresses carry a premium that has nothing to do with square footage and everything to do with outside the front door. The neighborhood you choose inside Mandeville matters as much as the price point, because these are genuinely two different ways of living. Old Mandeville is the historic walkable core, smaller lots, older homes, character architecture, and the ability to walk to dinner on a Tuesday night. You're talking about Creole cottages and craftsman bungalows on tree-lined streets, walking distance to coffee shops and the lakefront. That's the product the lifestyle seekers are buying. The trade-off is older systems, roofs, plumbing, HVAC that need attention, and less square footage for the dollar. The newer subdivisions further out, places like Beauchene, the Sanctuary, and Lacombe Estates, flip that equation completely. Larger lots, newer construction, more square footage per dollar, and HOA amenities like pools and tennis courts already built in. These are the communities where the strategic commuters and the public school purists tend to land. The trade-off is a fully car-dependent lifestyle. You're driving everywhere every day without exception. Both are legitimate, they just serve different people, and you need to know which one you are before you fall in love with the listing. The Causeway commute is the number that stops most people cold. 24 miles, $5 per crossing southbound, 30 to 40 minutes on normal day. Without a toll tag, you're spending roughly $1,250 a year just in tolls. A toll tag subscription that drops that to between $400 and $480 per year, less than $40 a month. That one step changes the math entirely, and it's the first thing any serious North Shore commuter should do. Property taxes are another number that surprises people pleasantly. St. Tammany's median millage rate came in at 125.61 mills in 2025, down roughly 10% over 2 years, and it now sits below both Orleans and Jefferson Parish. On a $500,000 home, that gap is real money back in your pocket every year. Insurance is the conversation you absolutely must have before you make any offer. Flood zones in Mandeville vary block by block, and your premium can swing by thousands of dollars depending on which side of zone boundary your address falls on. We always recommend our clients to talk to Lester Coe at TWFG before they get attached to any specific property. One call before you're under contract protects you from a number that can quietly break the budget after closing. And then there's the cost nobody puts in their spreadsheet: private school tuition. If the zoning or program placement doesn't work out the way you planned, you're looking at $8,000 to $15,000 per year per child layered on top of your mortgage. That's not a reason to avoid Mandeville. It's a reason to do your homework on school zones before you go under contract, which is exactly what the next section is about. The school system, what the rankings actually mean. So we've established that St. Tammany ranks 3rd in the state and that Mandeville schools carry A and B grades, but rankings are shorthand. What you actually need to know is what's happening behind those letters and where the system has edges that can catch families off guard. Louisiana's school performance score runs from 0 to 150. A school scoring above 100 is genuinely performing well. Mandeville High and Tchefuncte Middle both sit in that range, and they've held there consistently, not just in a single strong year. The scores factor in classroom assessment results, student progress over time, ACT performance, and graduation rates for high schoolers. It's not one number from one test, it's a composite picture, and Mandeville schools look good from every angle in that picture. ACT data is where college-bound families should really pay attention. St. Tammany Parish consistently outperforms the Louisiana state average on ACT composite scores. For a family with a 10-year-old right now, that number is the one that will matter most when it's time to apply to college. Strong ACT performance opens doors, merit scholarships, competitive university admissions, honors programs. The foundation you're buying into today has a direct line to those outcomes. Now here's where we need to slow down, because this is the thing almost nobody explains when you're scrolling Zillow at midnight looking at Mandeville listings. The school zone attached to a specific address is not the same across all of Mandeville. Not every street feeds into Mandeville High. Not every address puts your child in line for the district's strongest programs. Attendance zones in St. Tammany are drawn by geography, and they don't always follow the logic you'd expect from a map. Two houses on the same block can feed into different middle schools. We've seen it. It matters enormously, and most buyers don't ask about it until after they're already in love with the property. The gifted and magnet programs inside St. Tammany are another layer entirely. These programs exist, they're competitive, and they carry wait lists. If your child qualifies for a gifted program and you're counting on placement, you need to know whether your address puts you in a position to access it, and you need to know that before you make an offer, not after. The wait list reality doesn't mean the programs aren't worth pursuing. It means the street you buy on can change your child's educational path in ways that a district ranking alone will never tell you. The public versus private question comes up with almost every family we work with, and the honest answer is that both options exist here and both have real merit. Public schools are generally strong. That's not marketing language, it's what the data shows. But strong public schools and automatically the right fit for your specific child are two different statements. Some families arrive in Mandeville, enroll in the public school system, and never look back. Others find that their child's needs, learning differences, specific academic tracks, faith-based education, or just a particular school culture are better served by a private option. The private school landscape on the North Shore includes schools like Lakeshore High, St. Paul's, and Fontainebleau. Tuition runs $8,000 to $15,000 per year per child. If you have two kids and you end up in private school for both of them, that's potentially $30,000 a year layered on top of your mortgage. That number isn't a reason to avoid Mandeville. It's a reason to build it into your budget scenario before you set your home price ceiling, not after you've already stretched to your max. The bottom line is on the schools is this. The rankings are real, they're earned, and they reflect years of consistent performance, not a single outlier year. But excellent schools inside a strong district require you to make smart decisions about where specifically you buy. The zip code gets you into the game. The street address determines which game you're actually playing. Before you fall in love with any property in Mandeville, call the St. Tammany Parish School Board and confirm the exact attendance zone for that address. Ask about gifted program wait lists if that's relevant for your child. Do that before your offer goes in, not after. That one conversation can change everything about which properties are actually worth your time. Weekend life in Mandeville. Here's what people who've never lived on the North Shore don't quite understand until they do. Mandeville isn't a place you escape from on the weekends. It's a place you actually want to be. Start with the Tammany Trace. 31 miles of paved trail running from Mandeville all the way to Covington, passing through Abita Springs along the way. On a Saturday morning, you'll find families on bikes, runners with dogs, kids on scooters, couples walking with coffee. It's not a park you drive to. It's infrastructure built into the neighborhood. And most Mandeville families use it the way New Orleans families use their front porches. It's just part of how the weekend works here. Then there's the lakefront. Lakeshore Drive on a Sunday morning is one of those things that's genuinely hard to describe without sounding like a brochure. So let us just say this: sailboats on open water, restaurants right at the edge of the Lake Pontchartrain, and a sunset that comes in slow and gold over the water. People drive from New Orleans for that view. Mandeville residents walk to it. Old Mandeville's walkable core along Girard Street and Carroll Street gives you something the suburbs almost never deliver: actual neighborhood texture. Independent coffee shops, boutiques that aren't chains, restaurants where the owner knows your name by the third visit. There's a farmer's market that pulls the whole community out on the weekend mornings. Youth sports leagues are everywhere, organized around the assumption that families here want their kids active and connected. The social fabric is genuinely built around outdoor life and community involvement in a way way that feels organic, not manufactured. And then there's the city, still right there. 30 to 40 minutes to the French Quarter, 45 minutes to the Superdome on a game day. Close enough to get to Jazz Fest without staying in traffic for 3 hours on the way home. You get New Orleans when you want it, the food, the music, the culture, all of it. And then you drive back over the causeway to quiet streets and a neighborhood where the biggest Saturday night decision is whether to eat on the porch or walk down to the lakefront. For a certain kind of person, that balance is exactly right. What Mandeville doesn't have, and we'd be doing you a disservice not to say this plainly, is the daily energy of a city. There's no spontaneous Tuesday night crawl down Frenchman Street. There's no density, no constant cultural collision, no feeling that something interesting might happen around the corner at any hour. If that kind of energy is something you need woven into your regular life, not just on weekends but on ordinary weeknights, the Northshore will feel quite quiet faster than you expect. And that's not a flaw in Mandeville. It's just a real difference in what kind of place it is. Is Mandeville actually right for you? So let's put this together honestly, because the question was never really whether Mandeville is good. It clearly is. The question is whether it fits your specific life. The family we see by here most successfully looks something like this. Kids on the way or serious planning underway for both. A job situation where at least one partner is either remote or commuting to New Orleans and comfortable doing it daily. A housing budget that starts at $350,000 and has some room to move. A genuine preference for outdoor space, community events, and the kind of neighborhood where you actually know your neighbors. That profile fits Mandeville well, and Mandeville fits that profile back. The commute is still the variable that tips the decision one way or the other for most families. With a toll tag, the causeway becomes a manageable line item. But the drive from your driveway in Mandeville to your desk at Central Business District, accounting for parking, the bridge, and real New Orleans traffic, runs 45 to 60 minutes on a hard day. Some people do that without blinking. Others find that after 6 months, it starts to wear on them. Be honest with yourself about which one you are before you sign anything. The school zone homework we talked about in the last section isn't optional. It's the first thing you do before you get emotionally attached to a property. Confirm the attendance zone directly with the St. Tammany Parish School Board. Ask specifically about gifted program availability and wait list status if your child is in that lane. That single conversation made before your offer goes in protects you from the most expensive mistake buyers make in this market. Who should generally think twice? Buyers whose budget tops out under $300,000, because the entry point for the neighborhoods that feed the strongest school zones starts higher than that. Buyers who need to be in New Orleans frequently and unpredictably, not just on weekends, but on short notice for work or family. And buyers who want the walkable urban energy of a city neighborhood as part of their daily life, not just a weekend option across a bridge. For everyone else, for families who've done the math, checked the school zones, and are ready to make a strategic move for the next chapter, Mandeville delivers on what it promises. The property values have held strong. Families who bought here a decade ago have seen real appreciation, and the school district acts as a floor under that value in a way that purely lifestyle-driven markets don't always offer. We work with families making exactly this decision every day and every week. Whether your move is 9 days out or 90 days away, reach out and we'll help you figure out the right neighborhood, the right school zone, and the right price point for where your family actually is right now. Mandeville's school rankings are real, and the lifestyle backs them up. But the move only makes sense when commute, the price point, and the school zone all line up with your actual life. Our neighbor on Webster Street figured it out back in 2017. The families we help figure out before they sign anything. Before you open Zillow, call the St. Tammany School Board, St. Tammany Parish School Board, and confirm the attendance zone for any address you're considering. That one step costs you nothing and saves you from the most expensive mistake buyers make here. Hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell so you never miss an update. And check out our next video where I take you on a vlog tour of Lake Vista, one of New Orleans' most beautiful lakefront neighborhoods, so you can see exactly what that lifestyle looks like up close. All of our contact info is in the description below, whether that's in 9 days or 90. We love helping families make their smooth move to the Big Easy.